the largest Hispanic-owned business in the country, a multi-billion-dollar company, and we're going to boycott it because he said something nice about President Trump?
I'm Dr. Duke with The New American, and we're joined today by Christian Gomez. Christian is a fellow contributor to The New American magazine, so we're great to have you here.
Thank you, Duke.
Now, you actually are going to talk today a little bit about something that's dear to your heart. As a Puerto Rican American, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, somebody who's actually lived in the Bronx, unlike she claims to, right? She was born there. So you actually are more authentic. You should be congressperson in any event.
I accept your endorsement.
There you go. But you want to talk about Goya today, and I think it's important. Now, one of the things about the cancel culture that gets to me a little bit is the minute a minority speaks out, somebody who has bona fides, right? Somebody who's not necessarily first generation to this country speaks out, whether they're black or Hispanic. Immediately the left goes after them as if they were white supremacists. And this happened with the CEO, the chairman of GOYA Products, right? And so his name is
Bob Unanue.
Bob Unanue, yes. And so he recently had from our perspective, the bravery at a meeting with President Trump to point out that Donald Trump is in his estimation, we're blessed to have him as a president, right? In fact, why don't we take a moment and let Bob, the CEO of Goya, make that statement on film.
And by the way, we're all truly blessed at the same time to have a leader like President Trump, who is a builder.
All right, so talk a little bit. What did you think about the statement itself?
I mean, the statement to me is non-controversial. I mean, many times you have presidents, have foreign leaders of other countries, leaders of companies come, and they always say something positive about the president. Why is it different this time? Oh, because he's the CEO of the largest Hispanic-owned company in the United States. So all of a sudden now there's this leftist backlash against him, which is funny because with all the BLM stuff going on around the country, one of the ways you could support the BLM cause, according to the left, is to support black-owned businesses. So here's not a black-owned business, but a Hispanic-owned, the largest Hispanic-owned business in the country, a multi-billion-dollar company, and we're going to boycott it because he said something nice about President Trump. It's ridiculous.
Odd. Before we move on, you raised an interesting point. Wasn't it just like 3 or 4 months ago that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez actually said she was getting a little jealous of all the attention I think the African Americans were getting with Black Lives Matter? She actually came out and said, we Hispanics, we Latins, we are black too. Don't forget us, she said, right? So in other words, she wanted to make sure that whatever gravy train rolls out to the Black Lives Matter activists, that Hispanics as well as blacks will benefit from it. But why is it, I get the anger, but why is it, Christian, that they seem to go after minorities who tend to be conservative or support the president much harder than they go after your garden variety white guy? Why is that?
Well, we have to remember that it was a Democratic Party that supported the institution of slavery for over 100 years, and then after the slavery was abolished in this country, it was a Democratic Party in the South that instituted all the segregationist laws and so forth.
Fought civil rights.
Exactly. So the Democrats have fought hard to keep minorities in their place, so to speak.
Well, the KKK.
Exactly, the KKK, right, founded by Democrats, on the plantation. So as soon as there's a person of color who thinks for themselves, speaks out of turn, that person has to be ostracized and taught a lesson. No, you're Hispanic, you must vote Democrat. You're black, no, you must vote Democrat. You must be a progressive socialist because then we own your vote.
We see this with Terry Crews, the African-American movie star, Hollywood persona, who went on Don Lemon's show on CNN and got lectured by Lemon for simply defending not necessarily Donald Trump, but defending the view that all lives matter, right? And to watch Don Lemon, who is as extreme an ideologue as you could possibly have, just berating this guy. Cruz was not given a word edgewise, lecturing Cruz by, you can't talk about that way, this is all about black lives. So you see this again and again, over and over again. And so with one of the things that's most interesting about Bob Unanue, did I pronounce that correct?
Yes.
All right. One of the things that's most interesting about him is, unlike a lot of spineless white owners of businesses, he didn't back down. He defended.
He's not virtual signaling for the left.
No, talk about his stance now. What do you make of his position?
It's bold. I'm glad that he didn't bow down and just sort of cry in front of the TV cameras and beg for the forgiveness, because that's basically what AOC and the left want. out of Bob Unanue and Goya. They want Goya to cave into the leftist, culture mindset
and write a big check, no doubt, to Black Lives Matter causes
and
all the radical progressivism.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting that he didn't do that, and he's actually he's not running from the issue. Every time he's asked about it, he defends what he said, which I think is really very brave of him. Take, for instance, what happened with Drew Brees, right, the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints, who not only did he grovel in the dust like that Massachusetts sheriff who got on his belly to prostrate himself before Black Lives Protest Matters, he actually had his wife cringing and groveling with him.
It's really pathetic.
And what did he get for that, right? Did he get welcomed back with open arms? No. In fact, Eminem, the rapper Marshall Mathers, just released a new cut in which he says, as part of his lyric, F Drew Brees. So there's no amount of apologizing that's going to get him the right. Once you're wrong, according to the left. So I admire him even more than that. I think he did it on principle, not because he was afraid. But when a guy who has this kind of cultural presence and who's a minority, when he stands his ground like that, it's got to be good for everybody in the country.
Absolutely. I think that the Democratic Party, from their point of view, they're afraid. They are petrified that they're losing the Hispanic vote. The Hispanic vote is not 90%. Is not 90% locked in for the Democrats. There's a growing movement called Lexit, Latino exit from the Democratic Party, where many Hispanics are waking up and seeing the Democratic Party has done nothing for their community whatsoever in decade after decade.
Do you know what percentage of the vote off the top of your head, a Hispanic vote, Trump won in 2016?
I think it was around the 30% range or so.
Pretty good.
About a third, yeah.
Do you think that's going to go up or down in 2020?
I think it'll go up because I've seen testimonials of many more Hispanics who've even voted for Hillary or didn't vote in the last election, and since Trump has been elected, they've gone the way of MAGA, so to speak.
There was a poll that came out, I think it was just yesterday, that suggests that Biden is underpolling with African Americans. They may not all love Trump, but you would think a clear Democrat candidate who served with Obama as vice president, who is himself a longtime figure in Democrat politics, Biden is underperforming. So there's a lot of people. There may be a lot of African Americans who won't vote for Trump, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to go ahead and vote for Biden. And wouldn't it be an interesting thing if indeed we had a Kanye presidency run, right? You wonder how many African Americans that might pull away from Democrats. But before we run out of time, we got about 3 minutes left. You have been using Goya products ever since you were a little boy. This was part of your heritage,
absolutely,
I imagine. So you grew up with this.
This is my cupboard right here. It's all Goya.
I don't know if you can see this, but there's a picture of Christian with more of his. You don't want to drag it all in today, but his using Goya products. What is it about? Is there any rivals to Goya, or do they pretty much own the market in America?
They are the preeminent brand for Mexican, Latin American, and Puerto Rican cuisine in the United States. There are some other brands, but they're smaller. I mean, Goya is the one that you always see, like Coca-Cola and like Pepsi, having whole section of shelves in supermarkets.
That international presence.
And unlike Pepsi and Coca-Cola, Goya is not a corporate member of the Council on Foreign Relations.
Oh, nice.
So they have that to their credit.
Now, where are they housed, Goya? Is there in Mexico?
No, Goya was the founders came from Spain to the U.S. in 1936. They founded Goya in Manhattan, then they moved their production to Brooklyn. Their headquarters is in New Jersey, but they have plants all throughout the U.S. and in Puerto Rico. And they donate every year 1 million cans of chickpeas and other Goya products to food shelters throughout the United States, and they provide over 2 million pounds of food and other forms of donations to the U.S. and also in Puerto Rico as well, where it's needed.
So they're not just only the largest Hispanic-owned company in the country. They are an American company too.
Yeah,
now,
they're made in these cans. This is U.S. steel. This is made of U.S.
really?
steel.
Interesting.
And most of these beans, most of the ingredients and products come from the U.S. as well.
So I heard this on the radio. Even if you're not a Mexican food aficionado or a Hispanic food aficionado, even if it's a little spicy for your taste, we live in Wisconsin. We live in Wisconsin, where salt and pepper is considered a spicy condiment. It's the only one you get here.
But you can still get your adobo.
But you
even
can
in
get it in the grocery stores. So it was once somebody pointed out that even if you would never use these products yourself, please considering boycott, B-U-Y-cott, right? Instead of boycott them, let's boycott. And if they're not, these these products aren't for you, how about buying $20, $30 worth and donating it to your local food shelters?
Absolutely.
It'd be amazing.
Also, these cans are easy to open, too.
They are, and they got the pop tops that are well made and fully recyclable, too.
Yes.
So all the reason in the world that you should support Goya, especially in an election year. Whatever you think of the current state of politics in this country, whatever your politics personally are, we have a moment now where an individual who has a lot to lose, a lot potentially to lose with these cancel mobs, stands up and says, I'm not going to retract what I said about the president. That's something we should all get behind. So congratulations to Goya. We're really proud of you as an American company.